Welcome to Travel Babble with Basha. I am Basha, and today I'm going to take you behind the scenes on the Celebrity Apex. I sailed on the Celebrity Apex in September and October of 2022, and I was excited to take this behind the scenes tour. Now, we weren't allowed to take video. We were allowed to take photos in most areas. So let me share some of those photos and some of the amazing facts that I learned. First, we started in a restaurant to get an overview, and then we went into the galley. Now, you may call the galley the kitchen. There we met the head chef, and he gave us a speech about what they did. I was floored. At least half of the crew on the ship work in food service. Now, the first thing you notice as you walk through here is everything is stainless steel. Everywhere. There's a lot of drains in the floor. The floor will usually be concrete. It makes it easy to clean up and keep it clean, and sanitation reasons. One of the biggest fears, of course, as we have seen in the past few years, is getting some type of virus that spreads. So they want to make sure they keep the galley as clean as possible. So there are a lot of protocols, and the galley is cleaned quite frequently. As you can see, even more stainless steel all over. If you look, you can see a little bit of the dishes they use. Think of, if you're on a cruise ship, 4,000 passengers, 12 to 1,500 crew, and that's not even the mega ships. Of course, that's more than the small ships, but look at the dishes, and this is just a small amount. Imagine if this were your job, washing the dishes. Now, they do have big machines, but they have to be put in, they have to be taken out, they have to be put back for people to load those dishes up. One of the things that was very interesting in this area is in some places they have little paper or plastic pockets with recipes and pictures in it. Those show the meals for that evening and what they're supposed to look like and what is supposed to go on each dish. That way they can have a meeting. The head chef can meet with all the sous chefs, all the various chefs that all wear different collars. Their ties all have a different meaning, whether it's white, black, red. And they can discuss the food for that evening, make sure everybody understands what their part is in it, and they can look at the picture and how the plate is supposed to look. So it's very interesting to see all of that information. One of the hardest jobs is that head chef. Think about, you have people from all nationalities on your ship, all different tastes. Some people have allergies. What can you make for those people to make them happy and enjoy the food? That is a lot of work. There is food waste, but they work very hard to keep that to a minimum, and they have to project that. It is amazing how much they can how easily they can project that out. The I95 and Crew Area. Now, if you're not familiar, I95 is an interstate that runs on the East Coast area from the top of the United States to the bottom of the United States. It's considered a main thoroughfare through that. I actually travel on I95 quite frequently. But in the Crew Area, I-95 is the main corridor, and you'll hear this on many ships. It's not just on the Apex. You'll hear many ships refer to I-95. That is the area that the crew will walk through, and they will go through there, and it says here, watch for moving traffic. This corridor rarely sleeps. There's always somebody going up and down. It may be people going between restaurants. They may be going between different areas of the ship where they're performing, but it's always busy. This also has a lot of crew cabin areas just off of it, maybe up the steps. So you'll see crew getting their workouts in, going up and down the steps. It may have the crew mess is down there along I-95. It is a busy and happening place. I took a picture of myself, of course, under the I-95 because I wanted to show people that I had been there. I waited for a while to be able to find a place when it was not busy. But this is how, when you wonder how a crew member disappears on one deck and all of a sudden shows up on another deck, they probably went up and down those steps and they went along the I-95 corridor to get where they needed to go. Obviously, you as a passenger are not going there. We all love our drinks. Now, some people have the drink package, some people may not. Where does all these drinks come from? There are many different refrigerators and storage areas. Now, I enjoy going through here and just seeing the boxes and boxes. We were on a 12-night cruise, but they typically get the food and the drinks in every 14 days. Now, they can restock at different ports, but generally if a cruise ship is sailing out of the same port, they will have some type of contract with somebody in there, and you will see these trucks pull up to the ship when you dock, when you're either embarking or disembarking. And if you're staying on for a back-to-back, it's really fun to stay out and watch them pull up, and they're putting more drinks on. But they usually have at least 14 days on the ship. Again, they can replenish if they need to in certain ports, but they may not have a contract. But these are the drinks. So this room was filled. We went to many different rooms, all filled with different types of drinks. It seemed like it was a never-ending process. There was just enough room to fit through. You also have your beer. You may have some upscale type drinks that there may not be as many, but they will be there. Now, I have to confess, I am a vodka girl. And so I was very happy to check out all of the vodka on board, see where I needed to go if I needed a drink. Although, after this, I wasn't going to be let back in this area. If you are interested in a little thing more upscale, they will also have a special area where they keep champagne, they keep wine. And then generally there is a separate room, and on the Apex, I thought it was funny, they had all their soda here, the Canada Dry, other types. I thought it was funny that the Mentos was sitting there. I'm not sure why the Mentos was right beside the ginger ale, but there it was. And of course, our water bottles. Now, sometimes you may get water bottles included, sometimes you may not, but this was one of their small little pallets that they were getting ready to take out. They were going to hand these out to people as they got off a ship on a shore excursion. Lots of food, lots of drinks. So what about the food, since I mentioned food? Again, they have about 2 weeks worth of food on there. It is boxed up. It is in various different rooms depending on the type of food. Some food may be kept in a colder room. Some food is kept in not quite as cold. Some may be frozen. Some may be kept fresh. You can see it looks like a lot of salsas or pastas here. Some more food, and they're sorting through and moving it around. And of course, we're starting to get into some of our fresher areas. Some of the fruit that is brought on, or the vegetables, they will move it into special containers to try to help it last longer. If you're on a 7-night cruise, they want those bananas to be just as good on day 7 as they were on day 1. If they find that they're not, they're starting to ripen, then they may use them instead of just putting out bananas. They may be making something as banana bread or maybe a banana dessert. But they want to do everything they can to keep them fresh. Now, I've been on some longer cruises, and I've noticed at some of the other ports, we tend to take on fruits and vegetables. Maybe not all the food, but fruits and vegetables, so that we could have those fresher items. And here you can see one of the guys who is in charge of the storage in the food area, and you can see behind him one of the cold storage areas. We then moved on to the laundry area. This was fascinating, and I wanted to see if I could bring this home with me. Of course, they wouldn't let me. This is one of their big machines. So they load down in this big tub. They can put a ton of clothes in there. I'm not saying a literal ton. I don't know how much they actually put in there, but the pile was huge when they put it in there. And sweeps it up there and it puts it in and it goes to the washing machine. Everything here is controlled electronically. The laundry room had so much that was electronic and they could put it in there and the machines did the work. The guy who was guiding us through made a joke that they didn't have to do anything in the laundry room because it was all electronic, and then he laughed. Obviously they do. They have a lot of work. You think about, they're changing the sheets on all of the beds on the entire ship. How many towels do we use? How many pillowcases do we use? And that's not even including if you send your laundry out, or they also may not do all of the crew's laundry, but a lot of times they'll do their uniforms. So they have a lot of laundry to do. The laundry comes into them in bins. In the Apex, the black bins meant it was dirty, the white bins were clean, and I believe it was the red bins were medical. So it came from the medical area and they would wash those separately. You can see here a few of their other machines that are not as big as the one I just showed you, but these are still some pretty big machines that you can put the laundry in, and then they had started these while we were there. Nowhere near the size of my washing machine, and I have a big washing machine. So that would be nice if you needed it. Now, one of the things that was fascinating is this machine. Now, these two gentlemen here are taking a sheet and they're going to hook it onto this machine. The sheets are almost dry, but not completely. This machine will take them through. It will press that sheet. It will finish the drying, and then the sheet will come out the other end folded nice and neat. They can do these. It's very quick. I don't even remember. It took less than 30 seconds to go through this machine, and it came out folded. I wish I had room for one of these in my home, but it was very nice. They also, I have seen them put pillowcases through here, and there's some similar machines sometimes that they have for putting towels through. So very efficient. There are a lot of towels and sheets that go through this every day. It's not a job I necessarily want to have, but I am so glad that they don't have to manually fold most of these items. We then moved on to the garbage room. Now you think about this, we make a lot of garbage on the ship. And what do they do with that garbage? Well, luckily they don't throw it. No matter what you've heard, they don't throw it overboard. They don't just come up and say throw it. And of course, if you know, there are rules about you throwing it overboard. So don't do that. But they do bring it down to this room and you can see the bottles. And if you look behind there, that's actually crushed. They take bottles, they take cans, they crush it all up on the Apex, and then they're going to recycle it. So when we get to usually their main port, they will take this off. Again, they will have a contract with a company to remove this from the ship. And that's just another picture similar to that. They will not throw the garbage overboard. The only thing that sometimes will be released is generally food waste. They will grind it up, pulverize it, and it may be released if it is allowed to be released. There are many places that they are not allowed to release food waste into the water, and some that they are. The engine control room. This is where it all happens. This is called the brain of the ship. All systems are monitored here. They can override just about anything on the entire ship. A large ship relies on its engine control room as its nerve center. They control and watch the engine propulsion systems, the cooling systems, the environmental controls, and they can even tell when people are in the bathroom. Not that they can see you doing it, but they can tell when the water flow increases. Just a strange little fact. The crew actively manages and watches every system on the ship to make sure that everything is running smoothly. You can see how they're doing that. They have many monitors around, and they have people that's their job to sit and monitor. They even in some cases have knickknacks along the side to make it feel a little bit more homely. In the middle of the ship, in the room, there's a large table that shows the schematic of the ship's deck, and they can look and go into where they need to go and what they need to see. They can see at a glance what is going on with the engines. The apex runs with azipods, which are motors that spin 360 degrees, which is why the ship can go forward, backward, side to side. I've always wanted one of these for my car because I hate to parallel park. I always wished I could just turn my wheels sideways and park. The Celebrity Apex can do that. The Apex has 5 engines. They run about 72,000 horsepower in their main engines. They have their azipods, and about 75% of the power goes to propel the ship. Now you may wonder, when you're on the ship, how do you get water to drink if you're not getting it out of a carton? Well, one of the things that is monitored from here is how they produce their water. They take water in from the sea, they run it through a reverse osmosis, they run it through filters, and then they put this water out for you to drink, to use, however. It's very good water. It's perfectly safe. Used water is then treated, and then it's sometimes sent back out into the sea if it's allowed, or it may be held in big tanks until it can be discharged. 2 things to think about. The maximum speed on the Apex, I was told, was 34 knots, but they usually cruise around 19 or 20 knots. That's still pretty fast. Sometimes if you are out there, they may travel slower. We had one port that we went between 2 ports actually, and I could have taken the train from one port to the next in just a few hours, and we had an overnight to do it. So they were cruising pretty slowly there. Just think of this engine room though. It is the nerve. It is watching everything, including you. Big Brother is watching. No matter where you are on the ship, unless you're in your stateroom, you have your door closed, you have your curtains closed, they can watch you, they can hear you. So Big Brother is watching. I'm not saying that they are sitting there, one of these people in the room, just watching you and following you in around the ship. That'd be kind of creepy, but they can see you, and if there's ever a problem, they usually have video that they can go back to and see what's going on. The next stop is one that may interest many people. Of course, that is the bridge. Now, the bridge is a very large space. They have 3 areas mainly in the bridge. This is looking out forward, or the front of the ship. They are required to have a certain number of people at all times monitoring here. It may not be the captain, but it will be somebody who has a higher rank, and then maybe some assistants will be there as well. They are constantly watching. Even if the ship is running on an autopilot, they still need to be there. Remember, they want to make sure that the ship stays on course and does not drift. You can see a little bit better view of people up front. It comforts me to know that they have different awards, they have different skills, they've gone through different training. I feel safer knowing that not only my captain, but other people on the bridge are certified in their jobs. Now, there is that bridge that looks forward, but if you've ever looked at a cruise ship, you'll notice it looks like it has wings. And those wings that go off the side can also be used to drive the ship. A lot of times these will be used when they come into a port because they can see better, or they go out and it's over the port and they can see where they need to go. But they will be using any of those 3. There's one, of course, on port side, one on the starboard side. And you can see here some of the different controls that they have. They can control the direction, they can control the speed. There's many different ways to control the ship. And this is, people are looking, there's the monitors there as well, the same as you would have up front, maybe a smaller version. And this is the ship where we were going. You can see the line going across. That was our route that we were taking, and we were staying on course. Now the nice thing is, off on these sides, you can look back and see the side of the ship. You have many views. You can look a little bit up more if you need to see what's going on. You can look out aside more, just straight out instead of looking back. Again, straight out. Looking a little bit more towards the forward, but a little bit off to the side. Looking in the front. And you'll also notice a lot of ships may have like a helipad, or sometimes it's for a winch. If they can't land a helicopter, they may be able to send a basket down and they can monitor that from the bridge. Now, the thing that's nice is on one of those sides, you notice they have these windshield wipers. Those windshield wipers are on many of the windows. It rains. You're out in the middle of the ocean, it rains. But I also like the binoculars. So they see something in a distance, they're not quite sure what it is. They can pick up their binoculars, they're right there. And just in case they haven't seen enough looking at the back of the ship or the side of the ship, they're not sure, they can also look down. This is very nice when they're pulling into a port, that they can look and see what's below them or how close they are. So there's actually a window in the floor to look down. And that, my friends, is a behind the scenes tour of the Celebrity Apex. Now, if you're going on a Celebrity Apex and you want to take this tour, I highly recommend it. You need to sign up early. You need to have your pass. There are certain ways that you need to dress. You generally have to have closed heel and toe shoes. You have to have maybe pants on. You can't take big bulky bags with you. Generally, video cameras are not permitted. They will let you take pictures in most areas. And small children may not be allowed to go on the tour. And if those who are allowed to go generally have to have an adult with them. But I highly recommend, whether it's on the Apex or another ship, please try to do a behind the scenes tour and enjoy yourself. And now that you know what to expect and you're ready to take that tour, get up and go pack your bags.